Hi dear students, so today we will discuss the laws of motion, the chapter 5. So we have already discussed about the linear or in a straight line motion and as well the motion in a plane. Now we are going to discuss some of the laws which are related with these motions, the straight line motion as well the motion in a plane. So majorly we are considering the Newton's laws of motion. There are three laws. Three laws are therefore the Newton's laws for motion. There are three laws. We will discuss that one. Before that one, we will just go through the observations of Aristotle and as well the Galileo, two scientists. What were their observations about the motion and all those things we will discuss first of all. So first of all, the Aristotle's fallacy. As per Aristotle, he was thinking like an external force is required to keep a body in motion. A continuous external force was required, or force is required for moving a body. For the motion of a body, a continuous external force is required. For an example, suppose we are using the arrow and bow. When the arrow leaves the bow, the air is continuously pushing the arrow. He was thinking like that. And as well, if you are considering a child with a toy car, actually the child have to pull the car continuously to keep it in motion. So continuous external force he is applying. So Aristotle was considered like an continuous external force is there, force should be there for keeping a body in motion. But actually if you are considering the toy car itself, actually the frictional force is there on the tires of the car. That is opposite to its motion. So to overcome that frictional force, we have to apply a continuous force. But instead of that, if you are considering a frictionless path, then there will be no need of applying a continuous external force to keep the body in motion. As well, when a body is in uniform motion means there is no acceleration. The velocity is a constant value. There will be no external force acting on it. And the externally applied force will be cancelled by the frictional force by the floor. Come back to the toy car. If the frictional force was not there, then it is not necessary to apply a continuous force. Initially, if you are just pulling it will continue its motion. So where the external force you are applying continuously is getting cancelled, or you are applying actually an external force equal but in opposite direction of the frictional force. So those forces will get cancelled each other. So net force, if you are considering the net force, the net force will be 0. Actually Aristotle failed to explain these things, and he concluded that a continuous force is necessary. A continuous force is necessary, or continuous external force is necessary for keeping a body in motion. But after a few years, the Galileo, he explained about inertia and about the uniform motion. So consider a frictionless plane. He allowed some particular bodies to move through the frictional, non-frictional or frictionless plane. she observed that there is no need of an external forces, a continuous external force, to keep the body in motion if we are considering a frictionless path. But if the body is at rest, then you have to apply an external force just to begin its motion. There is no need of a continuous external force. Application of the continuous external force is not necessary if the path is frictionless. But to begin the journey or begin the motion, we have to apply an external force. Actually, the Galileo's explanations or findings can be concluded in the form of the law of inertia. Actually, the inertia is the state of rest, or the inertia is the state of rest, or the ability to a body to remain on its rest place. That is known as the inertia. The state of rest and the state of uniform linear motion are equivalent. Both are equivalent. Suppose if we are considering a body at rest or a body with a uniform motion, body in a uniform motion, and as well a body at rest, both are equivalent. There is no net force acting on it in both the cases. Uniform motion, in the sense you have to consider the frictionless path. If you are considering like that, then there will be no net force on it. So we can see that Aristotle's fallacy was completely wrong, or Aristotle's consideration about the motion and the continuous application of the external force was completely wrong. So if you are considering a uniform motion in a frictionless plane, then there is no need of an external or continuous external force. And suppose if you are considering a frictioned place or a frictioned path, then you have to apply an external force to overcome the frictional force. And when you are getting the sum of the external force and the frictional force, both are equal and in opposite direction, they will cancel each other. So if the net external force is 0, the body must rest, continues to remain at rest, and the body in motion continues to move with a uniform velocity. If the net force value, if it is 0, or net external force value, if it is 0, if the body is at rest, it will remain at rest, and if it is in uniform motion, it will continue the motion. So an external force is necessary to begin the motion of a body which is at rest, and as well to stop a body which is in uniform motion. So we can say that a body does not change its state of rest or uniform motion unless an external force compels it to change that state. So if a body is at rest, it will continue in the rest state till an external force acting on it. As well, if a body, if it is in a uniform motion, then it will continue in the uniform motion unless an external force acted upon it. So now come to the Newton's first law of motion. Actually, the Newton's first law of motion is exactly same as whatever the Galileo's the law of inertia. The Newton has developed the idea of Galileo and stated the first law of motion as every body continues to be in its state of rest or of uniform motion in a straight line unless compelled by some external force to act otherwise. So if you are considering a body at rest or a body in a uniform motion, it will continue. If a body is at rest, it will continue on the same place at rest as well. If a body is in uniform motion, it will continue the uniform motion till an external force acts on it. Simply, we can say if the net external force on a body is 0, its acceleration will be 0. You know that F is equal to ma. So if the body is at rest, acceleration is 0 as well. If the body is in uniform motion, the constant velocity, that means dv by dt, will be 0. The acceleration value will always be 0. Then as F is equal to ma, as the a value is 0, the force value always will be 0. So that is simply, you can remember the first Newton's first law of motion in such a way. So at a rest and in uniform motion, unless an external force acts on it, it will continue the same state. That is Newton's first law of motion. And some of the examples are given. Suppose if you are considering a spaceship, the acceleration on the spaceship is actually considered to be 0. Then even if its engines are off or the rockets are turned off, it will continue its uniform motion around the planet. There is no net external force acting on it, but still it is continuously moving around the planets. That's actually an example for the Newton's first law of motion. As well, if you are considering a book on the table, there is two forces acting on the two forces are there. One is the weight of the book, which is acted upon the table, and then there will be a reaction force from the table. That is the normal force. We can say the normal force that is towards the book, acted by the table. So those two forces, the weight and as well the normal force, both are equal and opposite. So that will, what will happen? They will cancel each other. The normal force is represented as R and the weight is it is W. You can take the page number 92. It is represented there. So the W and R are equal and opposite. R is towards R is in the upward direction and W is in downward direction. Both will cancel each other as they are equal. And one more thing, if you are considering a car, actually you know that if you are sitting inside the car and if you are pushing the car, it will not move. But same time, the engine is there in the car only, inside the car only, the engine. But the engine could push the car forward. How it is possible? Have you ever think about that? Actually, the reason behind it is the frictional force by the road or by the path. Actually, the frictional force on the road is the reason behind the pushing of the car. The frictional force is actually pushing the car forward. Suppose if you are considering a frictionless road, then the car will not move forward. It will be at rest, but the tires will rotate continuously, but there will be no forward motion. And simply, if you want to, the daily experience we are observing the inertia. In daily experiences are there, daytime daily experiences, which are, suppose if we are considering, suppose we are traveling in a bus, if at the time when the bus is getting accelerated, okay, the initial time, you may get thrown backwards, isn't it? Actually, your feet is fixed with the floor of the bus, and there is a frictional force. And whenever the bus is get accelerated, your feet will move along with the floor of the bus. But our body is flexible. It's not a rigid body. If it is a rigid body, it will also move along with the bus. So our body is flexible, and our body will try to remain where it was. Okay. So the feet or the foot will move forward, and the remaining body parts will try to remain in its rest position and wherever it was. So we will feel a backward throw as well. Whenever the bus is stopping suddenly, we will continue. Actually, we were moving along with the bus with some velocity in a uniform motion, you can consider like that. Then whenever it stops, we will try to continue that motion. Our body tries to continue that motion, and as a result, we will feel a forward throw. So remember the Newton's first law of motion and the statement. That is the important thing as well. You just read the textbook. Some examples are given, and then you can understand the Newton's first law of motion a little bit more practically. Okay, so now let us come to the Newton's second law of motion. Before considering the Newton's second law of motion, we have to you should be familiar with the term, that is the momentum. Actually, the momentum is defined as the product of the mass and the velocity, m into v. And the momentum is actually a vector quantity. It is represented as p. The force is actually depending upon the p or the momentum value. Not only the momentum, but the rate of change of momentum. How fast the momentum is changing. The statement is given: force not only depends on the change in momentum, but also how fast the change is brought about. The same change in momentum brought about in a shorter time needs a greater applied force. In short, the greater the rate of change of momentum, the greater is the force. So if the value of the rate of change of momentum, then the value of the force will be, if it is more, then the value of the force also will be more. Okay.